Good morning to those of you who are in Europe, England, wherever you guys happen to find yourselves. Good night to those who are in North America. It's crazy o'clock. I can't seem to find a comfortable position to sleep, and so I decided that I'll come live and have a conversation with whoever is still awake before I go to bed. There is this story that has been streaming on social media for quite a few days now. I've been meaning to shed my own light on what I think, but I just didn't have the time to be able to talk about the issues the way I wanted to. And so I was waiting for the opportune time to have this conversation. And for me, as always, it's always about the lessons that needs to be learned from this whole issue, or the issues that become, apparent on social media. It's all about the lessons for me, the lessons. What can we do? How can we do things differently? Think differently. It's why I'm talking about this issue. Going into people who are of religious and political backgrounds is not something that I particularly like to talk about, but I've decided that we have to talk about this issue, right? So that we can all learn the lessons. Now, before I continue with this conversation, I want those of you who are here this nighttime to understand that this conversation that I'm having is my take on the whole thing, because I've listened to the same videos that have been streaming on social media that you've all seen. I don't know any more than any of us know who have seen these videos, and it is just my opinion. Okay? So once we understand that, we carry on with the conversation. I also realize that not everybody on this family platform may understand or know what all this noise and brouhaha is all about. So I'll tell you a gist of the story just to give it some kind of context for the benefit of the conversation. So on Sunday, this pastor goes to stand in front of his church and his congregation and announces that he's not with his wife anymore. They are not together anymore. They're divorced. Okay, they're human beings. Who cares? Right? Then he goes on to say that the reason why they're divorced is because his wife is peeved simply because he went out there and had a child outside of wedlock, and going on about how beautiful this young child, this young baby girl that the other woman has given him, and why the wife is aggrieved. And so because of that, she's packed her things and left. It's been over a year. They haven't seen her, and she's gone, and now he's done. The other thing that he also said was that the wife had gone to all the courts all over the place in Ghana, trying to take his belongings, his properties, his wealth, his possessions from him because of what has happened, and that if the wife is gone, she should go. There are plenty of fishes in the sea. There are lots of women in the church. He is going to marry however many women he sees fit and have multiple children with them. Okay, so that was the conversation. A few hours or days later, the wife has also come out, even though she's in the courts. And she did mention that for legal reasons, she wasn't allowed to go into the ins and outs of it. But she put a few things out there as well. One of it was that the husband, this pastor, isn't able to have children. The children they had were from IVF. When she met this guy, he was nothing. She was 20 years when she married the pastor. The pastor was in his mid-40s at 45. They've been married for 13 years. And she talks about the verbal, the abuse, and all of the things that she suffered, physical beatings and all of that in the marriage. And the whole premise and the reason why she thinks that she deserves to have, something, a token of appreciation for all the sacrifices that she made with this man when he was nothing, And now that he's become somebody prominent that people listen to, that this man is trying to find every possible means to get rid of her and leave her penniless with nothing. The other point that she raised was that this man, through the pendency of their relationship, until a year ago when she said enough is enough and she decided to separate from him, that this man has slept with all the maid servants and house helps she's had in her house. All of them he slept with, right? He was married to 2 of them secretly that she didn't know anything about. And 2 of these maid servants, who are now also his wives, have also had children for this same pastor. And this is the reason why she thinks enough is enough and has left. Obed, I see you. Yemit, I hope you're doing well. I say hello to everybody. I know it's crazy o'clock, but I cannot sleep, right? I've had this awful migraine for the last 24 hours. It's not gone, but I cannot sleep. So if I can't sleep, I have to do something. And the next best thing is to speak to my Facebook family. So let's have this conversation and let me begin to tell you guys why I turned on my camera. And the first people that I want to address here to begin with are my sisters. Okay? Because this woman who is now aggrieved and wanting her pound of flesh back is a woman just like me. My take. The first thing that I want to talk about is that, in my view, and this has been something that I've observed for a very long time, I've seen it happen in my own family, extended family, and I continue to see it a lot of the times. I'm not saying that there are no exceptions to any rule, but for the most part, when you see older men in their 40s and 50s married to younger women, that there's a whole generational gap between the 2 of them, it always brings about issues, particularly when the man is not really feeling overly self-confident in himself and is looking for somebody that he can lord it on or lord it over. What would a 20-year-old woman really, seriously have in a marriage to a 45-year-old man, somebody old enough to be your own father? Like, that generational gap. What sorts of things would you even discuss? Like, what would your relationship be based on? Right? This is my view. I've seen people in my family do the same thing. Right? If you want to marry old man, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I'm saying that a lot of men choose to date or marry women that they are way younger than, so that they can control them, so that they can pin them down and treat them as if they are their children, or people that they're supposed to be subordinates of them. And this always causes rifts between the 2 of them when these women begin to mature, become older, have opinions. It always causes issues. So for me personally, I wouldn't marry somebody that is 25 years older than me. If I'm 14 years old now, as you guys know, in my 40s, and I'm marrying somebody 25 years older than me, that person is almost kissing their 70s. I don't really know the sorts of conversations that will go on between me and that person in a husband and wife kind of setting, because that person is almost as old as my own father. And I have a fatherly relationship with my father. He's not my husband. He's my dad. You hear me? So that kind of relationship is always, kind of has issues with them. And the sorts of people that are able to marry these men of that kind of age need to have certain characteristics, which it is obvious that my sister did not have. Let's put all that to one side. One of the things that she talked about that was absolutely important to me, and one of the reasons why I turned on my camera tonight because I couldn't sleep, is the violence and the abuse that she talked about. This lady said that the pastor would sleep with the house helps that she had brought into the house to help her out. Obviously, when your house help is sharing the same bulanga that you are eating yourself, the same banana where you dey chop. Now your house help they chop the same banana. Of course, she's not going to have no regard or respect for you. After all, you guys are eating the same bulanga. So where is the respect there, right? And so these people start showing attitudes and behaving in awkward positions because now they are doing the same thing their madam does. So where is the respect now? Right? And when this woman confronts the husband that, hey, what are you doing sleeping with our housemates? The guy gets upset, locks her up, beats her up mercilessly till she's bleeding in her face and her nose. This woman said that. Now, this sort of thing just gets my adrenaline juices going and makes me super angry. Why? Marriage is a union between two people who purport to love each other and want to complement each other in a relationship. I cannot for the life of me, right, live with any man that I claim to love when this person takes out a belt. She even said a laptop charger and starts hitting me mercilessly with it until I'm bleeding black and blue. Not happening. So if you're sat in a marriage, and this sort of thing is being meted out to you, this kind of beating and relation is being meted out at you, my darling, pack bag and baggage and leave. In my 40s, as old as I am, my dad has never, ever hit me with the tip of his finger, not to talk about his hand before. But I have the utmost respect for this man. Why? Because beating is not the only way of disciplining a child. Now, husband and wife relationship is not about this one disciplining the other person. Your wife is not your child. Your wife is your companion, somebody you're supposed to share your life with and complement each other. I know that this particular case and issue is happening a lot because there are a lot of men and women of God, first ladies, pastors, or pastors' wives that are going through the very same thing but can't say anything because of the name of the God, because of the body of Christ and all of that. But we need to understand that these men of God, these women of God, these first ladies, this whatever we are talking about are also human beings too. They are also flesh and blood just like you and I. I'm not sitting here condoning divorce, but equally, I cannot sit here and also say that marriage is for better and for worse. And so when you're dying, you should still stay in the marriage. I don't even think that the God that we serve would acknowledge and give any credit to anybody who does that, because he gave you this thing for you to use. Marriage is not a prison. It is something that you're supposed to enjoy, not endure. Right? And so my sisters, if you're sat in a marriage and you're not happy, you don't have a voice, it doesn't matter whether you're married to John the Baptist himself. If the marriage is not working out, my darling, and beatings is what you're going to be meted out with, my love, pack your stuff and go. You hear me? Pack your baggage and go. My question to this first lady is, why did she sit in this relationship for 13 whole years and enjoy and endure this kind of brutality at the hands of this man? Why? That is the first thing that I wanted to say. The second point I wanted to raise is that I looked at this young woman. At the age of 20, when she came into the marriage, you could see she was a very young, happy-go-lucky, vibrant-looking woman. Because of the IVF treatments that this woman had in order to cover her husband's shame, because he was impotent and incapable of having children, you should see what she looks like now. She's a whole different person. She's aged. She's not even mid-30s yet. And she looks like my mom. Because of that, right? We need to begin to get comfortable with this whole thing. Like I see in our Christian community that marriage must automatically bring about children. And people who can't have children, it's almost as if people who are childless or people who can't have children, people who have fertility problems, men who are, because it's not just women who have fertility issues, men have them too. Okay? And so it's almost as if you get married, the whole premise of marriage is that you have to produce children. And so if you can't produce children, then you are not good enough. There's something not quite right with you. And people will go through any length under the surface of this planet just to have a child. You're not answerable to anybody. You are not answerable to anybody. That's the first thing I want to say about that. The second thing is that the fact that you can't biologically have children doesn't mean that that is the only way to have a child. There are people who've adopted handsome and beautiful children and raised them, and unless these people tell you that these children didn't come from my loins, I am not biologically responsible for this human being here, you are none the wiser. This is a very important thing. This is something that I'm passionate about as a woman that doesn't have any children of my own either. And I'm not ashamed to say this. Okay? I have fertility problems. I cannot have children. Am I dead? No. And so nobody should subject themselves to anything just because they have to satisfy society that they need to have children. And so you go subject yourself to IVF to the point where you become caricature, something that people can't even recognize anymore. Because this woman said that she went on to have twins through IVF. On the back of this IVF, she now became paralyzed. For the first year post having the children, this woman was completely rendered to nothingness, in hospital, out of hospital, and all of that, just because she had to satisfy some condition that I don't even know who has placed there, that because she's a pastor's wife, she has to cover her husband's shame. So she subjected herself to years of fertility treatments. Look, I'm not a medic, but IVF is not the solution for just about everybody. You need to know who you are, understand your own self as a human being before you go doing things just because somebody says that you don't have a child and you ought to have one. I remember a time when I recorded a video about my own issue and why I don't have children, yada yada. That video has been going round and round and round. Maybe now not so much. And maybe one day when I feel led to do it again, I will. But do you know the number of people that but you can have IVF? Why don't you just go and do IVF without knowing me, without knowing what my issues are, without knowing whether IVF is a fit for me or not? And if you sit in a marriage and allow people all the time to put their okra mouths in your marriage, people will turn you to your grave and make you do things that you were otherwise not ready to do. It's the second thing that I want to say to this young woman, and not understanding why she endured this thing for all this time. Being impotent or not able to have children is not a crime. Okay? It is not a crime that some people can have children and some people can't. Look at the fingers that I have on my hand. Are all of them equal? No. They are all different sizes and lengths and shapes for a reason. You hear me? Not all of us are going to have children. I am not going to kill myself because I cannot have children. If God chooses to give me, he gives me. He has decided, hey, you are not having. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Kill myself? No. Right? Don't allow society to push you into things that you're not comfortable with. Adopting children, there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. Look, I've seen people and met people on life's journey that are 100% able to have children, both men and women. but they look at their own self, look at their own life, and have decided that they don't want to have children. And so they go and tie their tubes, or they go and have a vasectomy because they don't want to be responsible for other people. I love those people so much. We know why? Because at least they've owned up to the fact that they can't parent children. They don't want that responsibility because it's a sacrificial job. And if you're not prepared for the wahala that comes with having children and being really responsible to raise responsible human beings to carry on your lineage, don't have children. I know too many irresponsible fathers and mothers in my lifetime. And it annoys me when people have children that they're incompetent and incapable of raising to become responsible human beings that other people can love. There's so many broken people in our society today that need fixing because they didn't have parents that loved them enough and will stand and look after their children. And they just did it because people said they have to have children. It's why they done it, not because they were really there to be responsible parents that looked after children. My parents sacrificed everything to make my siblings and I the people that we are today. And they are still sacrificing. Right? It is a lifelong vocation, parenting. If you're not ready to be a parent, don't bother. Do not bother. Don't do it. Because it is not about you have the pregnancy, then everybody sees you have big belly. Parenting is a lifelong commitment. When you think you've done the naughty teenagers, then now they become young adults. They are presented with new issues. Now your children go and marry and they have children. Now you are looking after grandchildren in your older age. It is a lifelong commitment. If you're not ready for it, don't do it. Sister Adeline, God bless you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your stars. I see you. Sister Rosalind, I see you. Mawunya, I see you. I see every single one of you. And I love you and I salute every single one of you for being here. Now, the crux of the case here with our sisters is that many of us will get married. And I've said this, I don't know how many times. The fact that you get into a marriage, my sisters, with a man, does not mean that you cannot have a life in a marriage. A marriage is a commitment between two full-fledged adults that are complementing each other. How can you complement somebody when you yourself, you don't know where you are going? How? If you don't have any financial standing, if you don't have a career of your own that gives you financial independence and makes you able to stand on your own 2 feet and decide what works for you, these are some of the things that happen. My sisters, it is time you rise up, have a life of your own, be an independent, self-sufficient woman before you go delving into marriage with somebody else. Because this young lady came into the church, the pastor met her, did all kinds of things to her in order to convince her to marry him. Old enough to be her dad. And she agreed. They got married. Now she left everything she had, the dreams that God had given her, the destiny that God had given her, the life that she had to live, the destiny that she had to fulfill. She put all that on the back burner because of her husband's ministry. Sister Mary, how are you doing? Because of her husband's ministry, she sacrificed everything, all of her own life and dreams for this thing for 13 good years. No money, no nothing, singing, ministering, doing this, praise and worship leader, this, that, and the other. The women, the leader of the women's this, and the first lady, and all of that. Now you see, when the cookie has crumbled, this man has wiped his mouth on your clothes. He's now telling you, if you don't want, you can go. What are you going with? So now, she has to go to court and try to get some respite for the 13-year sacrifice that she made in the marriage. If this woman had a life of her own, if this woman had a business that was thriving, if this woman was standing on her own 2 feet, if she wanted to be a musician, there are a lot of recorded labels all over Ghana. If this woman had a life of her own, doing her own thing, when the cookie crumbled and she saw the nonsense that the husband was doing, she could have just packed bag and baggage and left. But she had to stay till now, partly because she doesn't have a life of her own. She cannot stand on her own 2 feet without her husband, riding on her husband's success in order to move on with her own life. Young, beautiful woman, why would you throw your whole youth away following somebody old enough to be your dad? For what? Right? If this woman had a career, had a business, had something going, would she have to subject herself to this? Hell to the no. And so, my darling sisters, I have said this I don't know how many times. I don't know whether some of us have broken corkscrews in our ears, because it pains me so much when I see young, beautiful, talented women sitting at home doing absolutely nothing. Right? Let me tell us, darlings, people, we human beings, we get very easily fed up with each other. Let me tell you the truth. It is very easy for somebody to get tired of you. And so you become even more annoying when you have nothing doing. Imagine, you put yourself in that place, my darling sister, that you are a man. You are the one providing light, water, electricity, paying the rent, paying the mortgage, feeding your own selves, feeding your parents, sending them money. Maybe your parents are sick and they are old. You know, they are old people. You have to look after them, do everything. Now you're trying to build a house for your future. You have to have a retirement fund. You have to do this for your children. Don't you think that the person's neck will break? My sisters, think that some woman is doing this to a son that you have raised yourself. Think about the labor pains that you go through and the trouble that it has taken for 25 or more years to raise your son. Put him through kindergarten, class 1 to 6, secondary school, university, and all that it has cost you to do that. Only for some young girl to come and sit at home and do nothing and be sponging off your son. How will you feel? If you don't like that feeling, don't do it to somebody else's son either. Do unto others as you want others to do unto you. I have nephews. I don't want to see any of them go through this kind of thing with any woman. I have cousins. I don't want to see any of them go through this with their wives and families. It takes two. If God thought it was enough for one person to be by themselves, they would be. But that doesn't mean that because you want to be married, marriage, which is a commitment between two people who are supposed to be complementing, complement underlined. How can you complement somebody's life when all you are is a nuisance? Every day, give me. Every day, give me. I need hair for Brazilian. My mother is sick. Tomorrow this. Some people ask their husbands from everything down to salt that you're going to use to cook for your husband. Why? You have 10 fingers, 2 hands. Why can't you also be productive? Like, reorganize your life so that it is meaningful. I am not making any excuses that it is okay for men to abuse their wives at home if the women are housewives. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that some of these things happen because the men get fed up with you. They get frustrated. They don't know who to take it out onto. And so you become the punching bag of all the frustration because you're not amounting to anything. You can only have a mouth and a voice in a relationship when you're contributing your own quota in that relationship. Plain and simple. If you're not contributing anything, you don't have a voice. Because this man, he is your breath. He is the reason why you're still eating. You're still breathing. The dress you are wearing, he bought it for you. The knickers you wear, he bought it for you. The sanitary towels you use, he is paying for it. How is this sort of person going to respect anything that comes out of your mouth when you're not contributing a dime? And always give me this, give me that. I need this, I need that all the time. People get fed up. Even the people that are sat in committed relationships where they're complementing each other, it is not easy. Not to talk of you that wakes up and sit at home doing nothing. Nothing. This woman thought that I'm the pastor's wife, I will wash his clothes, I will do the... But by her own utterances, she had house helps in her house. So what was she doing? What was she doing? Let's just say she was doing ministry. This ministry that she was doing, obviously, all she was doing was just giving her time for nothing. It was a non-salary job because, oh, I'm supporting my husband's ministry. How is this support helping you? Sometimes when I talk about we women always having to position ourselves, because life happens. People fall in and out of love with other people all the time. Let's just be plain and factual here. People fall in and out of love with people all of the time. So tomorrow, when this man that told you that you are the apple of his eye, you are the only pomo on his rice and beans, you are the only gari on his soakings, and tomorrow he doesn't want you anymore, what are you going to do? It is only when you have a leg to stand on that you have the ability to decide what works for you. I'm in a relationship today. The guy that I'm seeing, if tomorrow it's not working out for me, I can tell him, you know what, honey, thank you so much for knowing you. It's not working. Adios. Goodbye. Why? I don't depend on him for anything. He doesn't depend on me for anything. We are complementing each other. If it doesn't work anymore for me, I can tell him, you know what, bye-bye. But imagine that he was paying my own house rent. He was paying my own mortgage. He was the one feeding me. He was the one sending me a chop money every month. He's the one buying my car, fueling it, doing this, that, and the other for me. You tell me all the nonsense he likes because I'm just a dependent on him, draining every ounce of blood outside of him. But guess what? There's respect in our relationship because, hey, I'm my own person. If it's not working for you, you can leave it. If it ain't working for me, I'm gone too. Give yourself that option. That is the only time you get to have a voice in your relationship. So no young person listening to me today should think that, oh, you know, and nobody is coming. My biological clock is ticking and my time is going. So I have to go and marry somebody. Fix your own life first. Fix your own dreams first. Fix your own life first, my sisters. And believe you me, the rightful person who would cherish you, who would love you, respect you, and give you your position and place in your relationship with that person will come along when you're not even looking. Trust me. Some of us have become too desperate for marriage, as if marriage is the end all and be all. And yet all these marriages that I'm seeing, there's nothing attractive about them. Nothing attracts me about the marriages that I'm seeing. A lot of the people that I know are in management mode in relationship. Why? They don't have legs to stand on. We women have so much power inside of us. If only you knew a minute bit of that power that God has given you, you will sit up today and rise up and live the fullness of your destiny. By the way, I am having a personal development masterclass on the 4th of February. Yeah, at 4 p.m. GMT. I don't know about what you're going through in your life, whether it's marriage, relationship, personal, whatever. It will be very, very, very good for you. if you book yourself a seat and come to this masterclass and begin to unleash the best version possible of your own self today. If you're interested, please type in the word link in the comment section. And when I'm done with this video, I will send you a link to book yourself a seat. You hear me? 4 p.m. GMT, 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. It's happening live. Okay? Okay. Now, let's move on to the next thing. This woman has said a lot of things. Now, this case is in court. And a lot of people... What time in the UK? It's 4 p.m., my darling. 4 p.m. GMT. Yeah, Colette, I hope you got that. 4 p.m. GMT. Okay? All right. So, this woman has taken this issue to court. It's in court. And there are all these things going on. She's been told not to talk to the press, yada, yada. The substance of this case... And a lot of people are angry. Why is she taking her husband to court? She's a greedy woman. She wants this. She wants property. She wants this, that, and the other. There's two things I want to say here, because I'm not entirely sure what is happening. The guy says that they got married. And the way he says it, it almost seems to suggest that it was just traditional marriage, engagement, as we call it in Africa, that they did. The traditional marriage is what they did. Now, according to the Ghanaian law, traditional marriages are potentially polygamous, which means that if all they did was for him to take some drinks and some whatever and go and see the girl's family and say, I want this woman to be my wife, and that is all they did without backing that with the ordinance marriage, the church wedding or whatever, and actually sign on the marriage certificate. And all they did was just traditional marriage. That kind of marriage is potentially polygamous. Okay? That's not to say that a pastor should be delving in polygamy. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that if that is the type of marriage that they had, then that kind of relationship is potentially polygamous. But having said that, the fact that it is polygamous doesn't give the man the right to think that he can just push her out of the equation now that she's not serving his purposes anymore. She has some reprieves. There are things that she is entitled to. And on top of that, there are 3 children that this woman had for this pastor. 2 through IVF, and adopted kid. It doesn't matter. There are 3 children in this relationship. And this man has to be responsible for making sure that these kids are looked after until they leave tertiary education. So this woman has a case. People don't just go to court just for the heck of it. No lawyer will take a case if they didn't think that there were any merits to the case, or they didn't think that there was something worth fighting for in the case. Okay? So that's the first thing I wanted to say about legal issues. There is something also, an allegation that the wife is making. And if this thing is really true, then this pastor could potentially find himself in deep waters, because that is illegal. And the thing is that the wife said that when she went to have the twin children, the last of the 3 children that she had, a set of twins through IVF, 2 weeks after she had the IVF and the children were delivered, she had paralysis. She was completely out of it. She couldn't move her limbs, and she was hospitalized. Because of that, she became incontinent, and everything had to be done for her lying in bed. During the course of all of that, the man allowed the house helps that were living with him, 2 of whom he was sleeping with and eventually got married to privately, to go visit the wife in the hospital. And while she was lying there helpless, unable to do anything or say anything or do anything, they were videoing her nakedness. These videos ended up in the hands of this so-called pastor. And this man has been threatening her with her naked videos, that he's going to publicize the videos for everybody to see who she became or who she is. Go watch the videos, Adeline. It's disgusting. If this is true, and the woman said she's got a hold of some of these videos because now the man has shared some of this private content, even with some of the church members, and some of them have forwarded it back to the wife. So now the wife has given these videos to her lawyers in the court. If this thing goes to court like a proper trial, and this man is brought and it can be proven that he is the one, the brain behind all of this, that is a criminal offense. And for that, he will be punished. You hear me? If people take pictures of your nakedness without your consent and put it out there, or try to hold you to some kind of ransom with it, that is a criminal offense. Like, some of these things need to be talked about so that we women and men and everybody is educated about some of these issues. It's why I talk about these things, right? So that we are wiser. It is the same reason why I am always telling my sisters, and I know that I'm going off case here, that don't do stupid things with the people that you're with at a particular time, all because you are feeling butterflies and cockroaches in your stomach. We women, sometimes when men tell you they love you, you lose all marbles. You take naked videos, opening your nyash and showing all parts of yourself to all kinds of people. These people will now take their videos, and when it suits them, they bring them out to embarrass you publicly. Whilst it's a criminal offense, whilst you can take them to court and everything, everybody has seen what your nyash looks like. You hear me? So be very, very careful the things that you allow to happen when you are in love, so-called love. I know, Linda, and that is what I'm saying, that when you've allowed these things to happen, and later on, these people now use it as a weapon against you, don't be too surprised. I have said this, I don't know however many times, that there is no art to tell the mind's construction in the face. You hear me? People will laugh with you as long as it is suiting them, but you don't know what is in here. If the head was like a coconut, or a pawpaw that you could cut inside and see whether they are black or green seeds inside of it. But you can't. So always be wise. Always have your tentacles screwed on properly when you're doing things. This woman was living with a husband who was sharing his manhood with the women that this young woman had brought into the house to help her run her home. Why didn't she come out then? Why did she tolerate? How can somebody marry me? Defile the vows that we've made and the bed that we sleep on, marriage, and then go ahead, go sleep with some other people, and then come back with that same thing, and come back to me with it? Good luck. Good luck. Maybe you may not have it hanging, dingling like a swinging pendulum anymore when you come back to me. Better for you to pack bag and baggage and go where you went and stay there. When we tolerate and allow these things to happen, what kind of respect do you think this man is ever going to have for you after that? I'm not belittling anybody, but if I have people that I've employed to come and render a service, the service being to help me run my home, and my husband sleeps with those people, what kind of authority then do I have to manage the affairs of the place anymore? Because the people now see themselves as equals to you. So if my husband would disrespect his own self, it means that he doesn't even know who he is. So if my husband would disrespect himself enough to go out there and go dip it into everything and every soup and stew. He should keep it in those soups and stews. I am not taking that back. If I don't know, I don't know. But as soon as I found out, you are dead. You are gone. You hear me? We are done. And if we begin to know who we are, what we can and can't tolerate, this goes back to the same thing that I was saying about having standards and being self-sufficient. You can't say much. You have to accept all the rubbish because you don't have a leg to stand on, my darling. I don't know whether you are not understanding me. If you have a leg to stand on, you have a thriving business, you can afford to go rent your own place and have your peace. Believe you me, you will not sit down and allow anybody's son to do this to you, ever. The only reason why you have to take it and forgive him and try to use biblical scriptures and everything to validate yourself and feel good about what you've done. Because the Bible is always down to interpretation. The way I understand it, somebody else would tell me 10 other interpretations of that same scripture. And I'm seeing that in this generation that we are in, people are just using the Bible to cover up evil. Plain and simple, it must be said. We are hiding behind religion and doing barbaric things that don't even make sense in the name of God that we purport to love. To me, this man calling himself a pastor is no man of God. If he's a traditionalist, he better come out and say he's a traditional and stop using the name of God to commit atrocities. Because he ain't no man of God. Now, these house helps that he's sleeping with and marrying in secret, we need to figure out how old these young girls are. Because if they are not 18 years of age, then it's illegal for a 50-something-year-old man to be sleeping with a minor. That is also a case that needs to be investigated too. The woman went on to say that even apart from these two other house helps that have also gone through IVF for this man and have had children for this man too. So he has twin children with his wife that are almost 4 years old. And then he has 2 children, one each from the 2 house helps that he's now married. So they are also now his wives. Apart from these 3 people, this man also married their women's Aglo fellowship leader, like the leader of the women in the church. This man is married to that woman too in secret, but that woman is a bit older and has had her own children from a separate marriage or relationship. And so they don't have no children together, but he's married to that woman as well. That makes this man, this so-called pastor's wife, he has 4 wives. This is why the woman feels aggrieved and has packed bag and baggage and has left. They are separated. But according to the woman, she hasn't returned no drinks to the man or his family. So to her, they've been separated for a year. The man has now come public to say, they are done. They are not married anymore. So I guess that is the end of the story. But the whole thing is that, and none of them have really fully come out to say exactly what the deal is. If there was ordinance marriage, this man has to go through the proper channels, through the courts, to end the marriage. If the marriage was not ordinance marriage, but traditional marriage, what we call engagement in Ghana, if that is all that they did, that kind of relationship or marriage is potentially polygamous, which means that the guy is able to go and have other women. But that doesn't mean that by having other women, he can just throw this one to one side and say you're not going with anything. He cannot do that. So the woman still has reprieves. There's still things that she's entitled to. And then there's the whole 2 criminal things, the beating and also the naked pictures that he's threatening her with. Those are criminal matters that must be investigated fully. And if the man comes out guilty, then he has to face the full rigors of the law. Now, my darling women, the next piece of advice I have for us is that when you meet somebody that starts talking to you, and you know the midnight talking, we've all done it before. Yeah, we don't just come and sit here and talk because, we feel like talking. We've all been there. We've all been 20-something before. Before we've come to our 40s, we also went through the teens and the 20s to arrive here where we are now. So we are talking from experience. When you're talking to the man and he's saying all the nice things to you, and your head has melted like condensed milk and you don't know what to do with yourself, the butterflies are almost coming out of your nose and your ears. At that time, when you're having all those nice conversations till 4 o'clock in the morning, when you know you have to be in class at 7 the next morning, that time, ask these men what sort of men they are, what their belief system is, what their likes and dislikes are, whether these men believe in marriage between one person and one woman and one man, or whether they are polygamists or whatever. Understand what you're getting yourself into before you go saying I do to these people. Don't think that because he's spending all that time with you, because he says he loves you and only you, it means that that's how it's always going to be. Because a lot of us women have been making assumptions that because one person says they love them and they want to be with them, that is always only going to be them. Fully ask the question and understand. This is where my sister went wrong, because by her own utterance, she said that the man had been preaching about this thing and talking about it in the church and saying all these things about he doesn't have anything wrong with men marrying multiple women, but she thought it was some kind of a joke. Marriage no be joking matter. Don't make any assumptions. Oh, but how can he want, if he comes to sleep in my house every day, if he visits me every day, he take me for a long walk and we are always together. We are not separate, we are inseparable. How can he possibly want anybody else? My darling, I said, there is no art to tell the mind's construction in the face. You hear me? If you don't ask the questions, if you don't take the trouble to sit down and analyze these people and know who it is that you're fully saying yes to, you might find that this man believes that it's okay for men to have one wife and 6 side chicks, because that's what he saw his father do. His uncles, that's what they all do. Monkey see, monkey do. Understand and know full well who these people you are saying yes to. Opening up your everything to before you say I do. I don't want to hear any shouting and screaming. When later on, they are now telling you, you know what, I'm going to marry more women. After all, when you have a farm, you have to have gardens. And now you're shocked and surprised. You never ask the relevant questions. A lot of us are guilty of that. You always take things on face value, on the face of it. Ask relevant questions. It's the only way to know what is going to happen. People can't pretend for too long. They can't. Ask relevant questions. And if you live in Ghana, Nigeria, wherever it is in Africa, I'm not saying marriage is not a good thing. It is. But don't allow desperation to be smelling off you. You know, like there's this aura around people at a certain point in late 20s. I laugh when I see women, 25-year-old, and they are telling me their biological clock is ticking and they are so desperate. They are just waiting for somebody to come and say they want to marry. Hey, do you know what you're getting yourself into? Evangelist, do you know what you're getting yourself into? You see, because of Christianity, The fact that you've been told that fornication is a bad thing, you can't commit adultery, yada, yada, yada. People are using marriage as a license plate to have, people are using the marriage certificate like some driver's license to drive the Bulanga car. But my darling, marriage goes a hell of a way more than driving Bulanga. I'm telling you. The sustenance of your marriage, it's got nothing at all to do with Bulanga at all. There are other things that must be in place first before Bulanga happens. You will see young girls and young men not ready. What is wrong with polygamy? There is nothing wrong with polygamy as long as the two people that are getting married, it has been spelled out to the two people to understand the sort of person that you are. Farampojo, Mr. Martins, if you want to be in a polygamous relationship, the woman that you're marrying must understand from the get-go that, hey, me, I'm a polygamist. You don't go and tell a woman you love her, you're going to spend the rest of your life with her, you love her, and this, and that woman goes with the premise that she's going to spend the rest of her life with you. Only for you to now turn around and try to change the terms and conditions of the marriage. Let the wife understand that, hey, me, when I marry you, it's not only going to be you. There are going to be other people. I'm laying my cards on the table from day one. If you find a woman who is happy enough to share your Bulanga with other women, farewell and good for you, but at least you were truthful. What annoys me is the lies and the deceit that a lot of you men are putting out there and telling other people that you love them, you're going to stay committed to them, and don't also forget that ordinance marriage is a relationship between one man and one wife. I think I need to do a whole video explaining the differences between ordinance marriage and traditional marriage, especially in our African context, so that a lot of people can understand what it is. You can go and do traditional marriage with 1,000 women. Mr. Martins, let me address you here, so that everybody can also hear what I'm saying. You can go and do ordinance marriage with only one person. So you can go and do engagements with 1,000 women. When you decide that you're going to go to church or you're going to a court to go and sign in a marriage certificate in the presence of the law, you have to go and leave 999 of those women and choose the one in the 1,000 that you want to go to the church or the ordinance place with, the courts with, to go and perform that ordinance marriage with, because it can only be with one person. I hope you guys are hearing me. Ordinance marriage is between two people, one man, one wife. The man commits to the woman only, the woman commits to the man only. If you go outside of the ordinance marriage to go and do traditional marriage with some other woman in secret, you are joking. It is null and void. The law would not consider it. If you have children with her, yes, the children may be, because they're minors. The law allows you to look after those children. But as for that side chick that you've gone to do traditional marriage with, having done ordinance marriage in your past with somebody else, until you divorce that wife of yours that you did ordinance marriage with, I'm sorry. You can't go ahead and go. And that is why a lot of men who are married to women, done proper ordinance marriage, will be hiding behind the scene, take the women to some obscure place and take drinks, and I just laugh. Because none of those marriages holds water with the law, as long as there is one woman that has the ring on the finger and the ordinance marriage fully done. Okay? So I need to understand, and I'm waiting for the both of them to somebody to finally explain exactly what transpired between the two of them that they are calling marriage. Because in the interview, the woman said, and those vows that you guys make us exchange, if vows were exchanged and it was signed on in a certificate, then everything that this man is doing is laughable. Okay? If you want to secure your marriage, women, so that you are not found wanting one day for all the hard work that you do, make sure it's ordinance marriage. Because when you have done ordinance marriage with a man and he decides that he doesn't want you anymore, he doesn't get to keep 100% of all the property and wealth and possessions that the both of you sacrifice for. In the West here, if you get married, ordinance marriage, and you call this person your wife and come and show them to whoever that this is your wife, when you don't want them anymore, everything you own, you split it in half. If you are living in the house and you sell the house, everybody takes their half of the money and then goes to do whatever they need to do with it. You don't get to do whatever you like and get away with it in the West. Even in Africa, these laws are there. Unless you have a good enough lawyer that is going to stand with you and fight to get what is duly yours. A lot of women just allow men to get away with murder. Back in Africa, we have all the laws you can think of, but the enforcement is the problem. And it is why I would keep on advising my sisters that the only way to have a foot to stand on is to be self-sufficient. Self-sufficiency is what guarantees you anything. And use your head. Use your head. Now, the next thing I want to address here are the men. I want to talk to my brothers now. For me, this man gallivanting around calling himself a man of God in a Christian domain is no pastor. I don't see, he picks and chooses what part of scripture he wants to follow when it suits him. When it doesn't suit him, he'll go and pick something else. Today I saw him being interviewed and what he said was absolutely senseless. And what was happening in the Bible, the stories we read in the Bible is something that was happening in that era, and those people were eating locusts and termites. And why are we not eating termites and locusts now, but we are eating jollof rice? So the fact that some people had one wife back in the Bible doesn't mean that that has to be applicable now. If you want to be a polygamist, come out boldly and say you are a polygamist from the get-go. You don't get to change your mind and change the rules as you go along. That is deceit. I don't think that if this woman knew, as a 20-year-old beautiful young lady, knowing that a 45-year-old man is going to be sleeping around with anything in skirt, including my own maid servants, and marrying multiple women, young, old, in between, and everything, that woman would have still agreed to that kind of a marriage. She believed that she was going to be the wife of a pastor, a man of God, and be the only first lady, accorded the respect and dignity deserved. Is why she agreed to marry him. A lot of young women are made to understand by their mothers and fathers that, there's a lot of advantage in marrying older men. They look after you. They will look after you. And treat you like their children that they need to discipline. Yeah. Pastor Simon says that the second marriage after ordinance marriage without first dissolving the ordinance marriage is not only void, but a criminal offense known as bigamy. Thank you so much for which a man could be imprisoned for up to 7 years under the law. The fact that we tolerate all of this thing in Africa and not do anything doesn't mean that it is acceptable. It doesn't mean that at all. And I'm waiting for the day that somebody will be held accountable for this thing. And you will see that a lot of people will sit down for once. You asked if I know what I was getting myself into, ma'am. I know all about giving a video content creator a star, and I know it costs money, not to worry. I know you never asked of it, but it's what? It's just for your good education. I wish everyone watching would give it a star if you don't mind. Yeah, I'd love that a lot. I definitely would. And when I said, do you know what you're getting yourself into, evangelist, I didn't mean you. Right? But I was trying to say that marriage goes beyond the antiques of the bedroom. Marriage may not be complete without it, but it is not the end all and be all. If all the other factors are not in its place, trust me, that bedroom antiques, it's nothing. When there is no money at home, and a man is thinking where the next meal is going to come from, do you even think that he has time to have erection? Not to talk of the thing that he's supposed to be doing to you. When there is no happiness in the home, you think a woman would be happy enough to have that relation with you? And it goes into the way the whole antiques ends up, because it doesn't go according to plan. Why? Because there's no peace, there's no happiness, there's no money at home. Trust me, when things are settled and there's money, and you guys are comfortable and happy, sleeping on high density foam mattress with Egyptian cotton bed sheets in a fully nyanya air conditioned room, no matter how horrible you think the bulanga is, it has this extra sweetness that comes. It has this extra sweetness that comes with it. Oh, because you are comfortable. The air conditioned wind is entering your nyash and everywhere, and it is so nice. But when you are sleeping in a mosquito infested room, all the nettings behind the windows are all torn. You have to even go and sleep in mosquito nets before you are doing, and even there the mouth of some mosquito is trying to poke inside the net to get your butt. Trust me, there ain't no fun having there. This small thing that you are doing, by the time your whole face is covered in sweat and oh, no. So there's a whole level of difference when you are happy and it's being meted out to you in a very comfortable, serene atmosphere. Now, you can sit down and, fully enjoy what is happening. Don't just go into marriage because the pastor says that sleeping around is a sin and is fornication, and when you are not ready for the full rigors of the marriage, you're getting into it just because you want to have license to kill. Because trust me, when you go and borrow all the money to do fully nyanya white wedding that everybody will come for, people will eat your chicken and your turkey and your everything. And after they've eaten all of it, they'll insult you on top of it. When they've only to find out that you are sleeping in some uncompleted building, in somebody's one room, in some studio apartment, in some corner somewhere. After doing 100,000 Ghana cedi, 200,000 cedi wedding that you couldn't afford. Cut your coat according to your size. The most important things to have in a marriage, or that wedding ceremony, the Bible, the ring, and the two of you. If kaba and slit is what you can afford, wear your kaba and slit and go. If trousers, khaki trousers and white shirt is what you have, my darling, wear that. Wear that. I was so happy when I saw how Wodimaya and his wife got married. One of the most simplistic weddings I have ever seen in my life. Are they not happy? Does Wodimaya not have all the money to afford whatever wedding he would have wanted to have? Why did he do it the way he did it? Because it is not about the people who turned up. How much chicken there was. It is not the chicken that sits in the marriage, it's the pair of you. I know somebody that has put on hold their marriage because the man doesn't have 100,000 Ghana cedis, $10,000 to afford her 4 bridesmaids, 4 page boys, 4 best men, 4 flower girls, this, that, so that she can have the whole 9 yards and the marriage procession and all of that. Because when you go on Instagram these days, when people are getting married, that's all you see. It is not about all of that too. All that looks nice. Oh yeah, it looks very nice. Aesthetically nice. And when you close your door, and now it's you, Kofi Anama. What is Kofi Anama going to do? You don't even have money to feed yourself. For the next 1 year, you are eating chicken, the arm of the chicken for 1 year because you can't afford it. You cut your coat according to your size. You have a happy life. So if you want to have a successful relationship, my darling woman, fix your life first. If at the age of 30, you can't afford to rent your own room or house and live in it by yourself comfortably as a single spinster, you are not ready for marriage. If as a 35-year-old man, you're not ready to rent your own place and be able to feed yourself and stand on your own 2 feet, you are not ready for marriage. The two of you would be complementing each other. It is nobody's son or daughter's job to come and fix your life. It was your parents' job to help you fix your own. After you pass the age of 18, or let's just say 21, it's now your job to fix your own life. Don't make it somebody else's daughter or son's job to fix your life. It doesn't work like that. You hear me? Now, I was talking about my brothers in the house. My brothers, I can only advise you, at the end of the day, you do what works best for you. But I have seen and met so many men, young and old in my lifetime, who tell me some of the decisions that they made and the consequences of those decisions in their life. I've seen men on their deathbed. If I had just stuck to my wife, who stood with me when I was nothing, who loved me when I was nothing, I would have a much, much better life. Today, I went on and I had this other woman and I've had 12 children with 6 different women and I've known no peace. If I had just kept it in my pants, none of this would have happened. You can go and marry however many people. People come and ask me all these things about polygamy. What is wrong with it? This was what our grandfathers were doing. Why can't we do it? Okay, go and find your grandfather and ask him. How is your own grandfather? How was his end? I know a man who happily married his wife, ordinance marriage. By the time the wife had their first child, he had already gone to have another one with some other woman. This man had 16 children with 3 different women. His married wife, ordinance married wife, had 8 of those 16 children. He knew no peace. The woman that stayed with him, he abandoned at a point and went and moved, brought another side hen to the house and all of that. But when the cookie crumbled, it was that same old wife that he had no regard for who nursed him to his last breath. A word to the wise. It's enough. You hear me? So you can do what you like. If you want to have 10,000 women, have them. But know that it comes with noise and you will know no peace. Having children with different mothers just creates enmity between the children. And most of the time, the men who have these multiple children don't even have the money to look after the children to the fullness of which they deserve. It is not just about putting bulanga and swinging pendulum and draining some fluid into somebody and having children. It is not just that. Do you know that in the West here, it costs at least $500,000 to raise a responsible adult that could contribute effectively to the society? Do you know that? Because university alone for medical school is almost $250,000. If you want your child to go to a prestigious university and be guaranteed a job. Exactly. Now it's talking about Asemo. See this recent issue of Alhaji Suma Banda in his sickbed in the hospital and the family and the second wife quarreling. So pathetic. You could see the man was hopeless and he couldn't say anything too because he's sick. But now who caused him? Auntie now who caused him? Who asked him if I had stayed with the first wife? Would any of this happen? No. You make your bed, you lie in the bed. That's how it works. You see, one thing that I want to say to my brothers here is that, my brothers always think that they are the only ones who get tired for eating palm soup for 40 years and 50 years. But you better get an acquired taste for the palm soup and eat it like that, because you save yourself a lot of heartache. And if my sisters here in the house will own up to it, and we will be absolutely truthful with you. We also get fed up with your own pounded yam. Every day pounded yam. Every day pounded yam. When we meet you, you are able to cut the sides of your hair, and you have, your punk is this high because you have long, nice black hair. The women have long hair draping down their shoulders. But there's something called aging, and it happens to the best of us. When you are swinging pendulum, and the pendulum is swinging like this, 1,000 oscillations a second, what do you think happens? You don't give the woman belly. This tiny flat stomach that she has to stretch to take the length and breadth and width and diameter of your own pikin. Then this pikin comes out. You want that belly to go back flat as it was before, when the thing has stretched out like that. And some of it, when it goes back, it now has the skin now looks like a zebra with the stripes and marks on it. You do this to this woman 3, 4, 5, 6. Some people even do it 10 times. You stretch it, it comes back like a blown balloon, back and forth. Then you take the woman's fofo, the boobs. You suck it, you chew the nipple as if you are chewing kebab. You do all kinds of things to it, and your pikin do the same thing. After all this is done, you want this same woman to still look like that woman that you met in the beginning, when no damage had been done and you came and chewed the nipples as if you were chewing gum. You want that breast to still be the same. Meanwhile, you have eaten banku, fufu, gari, eba, and everything in between. And your own stomach became like balloon, and it was never able to become flat again. But you were expecting your wife's own to go back to become flat. You see how unreasonable some of you can be. Then alongside all that hair that you had that looked like this, that hair now has motorway. Like there are holes all over your hair, as if a vulture came and ate your hair. But this woman still sticks with you. With your big stomach and your gray hair and everything. She still sticks with you like that. You say no, you don't like. I must have a younger one. I have to have a younger one. You need fresh blood. Oh, you have to have fresh blood. Oh yeah, you have to have fresh blood. So you go and take your own daughter size, your own Pekin age mates, and be doing all kinds of silly things with them. This woman is still sitting there with you in spite of all of that. Some of you, when the woman met you, your bulanga was as long as this. You see, when you were 25, this was how long your bulanga was. The stomach was flat. So the effective length of your bulanga is like this. Right? By the time you don't eat this banku, eba, fufu, and everything, now your stomach has taken all of this. So now the effective weight that is left hanging out like a button underneath your big belly, it be this. So when you go on this long journey with your swinging pendulum, the thing that you are doing is just, it's not even going inside the apple. It is just dancing around the apple. But your wife is still doing and making you feel that you are doing something. You are wasting your time. But all of this woman is still sticking with you and taking you as you are. Because it's for better, for worse. But it's not still good enough for you. You still think you must have a hair. So you go and take somebody your daughter's age. And then you go and take Viagra. This night. I will do it for this girl. I will give her. Then you develop heart issue. Now when you walk from your car to your bedroom, you're already panting for breath as if a fish that has been brought out of the sea. Fighting for dear life. Still, your wife is still sticking with you. What do some of you men want? What do you want? Tell me. There are so many brothers in the house. They are all laughing. What do you men? Some of you men, what do you want? This woman is still staying, She has not complained. Even when the thing has become like this, like a tiny button, and is dancing. It's not even entering. It's dancing around the tip of it. And then when you are done, the woman will be going, but is he done already? Because I didn't even feel anything. A lot of you men have been having intimacy with your wives, with your big belly. You know they use Nabulanga anymore. Now your big belly, they sleep with your wife. She is not complaining. She is still sitting. But it is still not good enough for you men. What do you want? I need somebody to explain it to me this night. What do you want? Tell me. What do you want? What do you want? If you don't want this woman anymore, you didn't go and take her from a piece of tree. She still has a family. Take her and go give her back to her family and stop maltreating women. There was this story last week. I have just decided not to talk about it because that thing just jacked up my blood pressure. But you know what? Whilst everybody is up in arms, insulting Sayam or whatever her name is, the side chick that took her bank manager, boyfriend, or whatever, CFO manager to court. Oh, I was very happy. I don't entertain exes. I don't entertain cheating. But I was very happy that some of you men need to be taught a lesson. That's the only way you learn. Now, all the men who know that they are guilty of the same thing, some of them are scratching their head because if this case goes to court and this girl wins this case now, it's in law, there's something called precedents being set. When this precedent has been set, oh my gosh, can you imagine how many people will be bringing men to court for lying to them? Those things that you say to your side chick when your mind, because they are sucking it and they are sucking your small button and it's sweeting you. Those things that you've been saying. Those things. Watch it before you say it. If you don't mean it, don't say it. So these women stick with you and go through the meal with you. Some of you men, when you met your wives, you were wearing chalewote. Bathroom slippers. Now they take come out. Go office. Go everywhere. And now, when the women make you into best people, they stick with you and take your smelly nyash and everything. And live with you and make everything and make a life with you and everything. When you don't do, where you get money, small money, you forget everything. The days when the women were lying in that bed with you, when you were nothing. You were wearing the same boxer shorts every day, boxer shorts, the same one. That woman that stood with you at that time. That side chick that you are sleeping with today and lying to. At that time, when you were eating gari soakings with no sugar, no milk. If you are lucky, some 5-year peanuts. Would she have wanted you then? No. But your wife was there. When all you had was one ball of kinky and no fish and pepper, she sat and ate it quietly with you, hoping that better days will come. Better days come, money comes, and all of a sudden you acquire new taste. Now that you have the big belly that can't even do anything and all you have is this, you acquire new taste with that thing. Like it's so funny. It is so funny. Guys, it is time that you sit down and look at your own lives. Think about the older men that you had in your life growing up. Those who were engaging in that kind of thing. How did it end up for them? Think about it. And if you know that it is no good example, you don't want any noise in your ears, stick to your wife. Stick to your wife and brighten the corner where you are. Instead of going to criticize your wife's stretch mark tummy that you caused, it be you plus your pikin wey cause am. And the breasts that are now sweeping the floor, the same ones that you pulled and sucked and that have now become the way they've become, manage them. If nothing at all, very comfortable pillow. You can put your head on it and sleep. After all, your hair now, it doesn't have any hair. It is all made up of contours that don't look very nice. But she is still closing one eye and taking it like that. So manage them. And brighten the corner where you are. It is always better. Always better. My parents have been married for 46 years and counting. If my dad has been able to stick with one apple for 46 plus years, with my mom sagging boobs that I sucked and my sister sucked, it is possible. All it takes is discipline. Discipline and self-control. Today, there's no other woman coming to make no noise in my father's ears about how there's this other woman and my children and this and that. He's also a very nice, handsome, tall man. Yeah. Had every opportunity to do whatever he wanted. But he made the choice to stick with the same woman who knew him when he was a young man and go with that woman to his grave. If a woman and a man can do it for almost 50 years, it is possible in your own case too. Learn to love your wife. Learn to love your husband. And make do with what you have. Work together. Understand each other. Communicate. Improvise. And make it just how it is. Because aging is a fact of life. It happens to the best of us. 20 years ago, I did not look like this. Right now, this is how I look, and I'm very happy with my look now. I am not a child. So I'm enjoying the person that I am today. More mature, more wise, more intelligent, doesn't take no bollocks from anybody. And I'm very happy. Make do with the choice that you made. Always see the good in your partner and stop looking for so-called greener pastures anywhere, because it does not exist. And if you're not happy in your marriage, you don't want to be married to the husband or wife anymore, I've told you. You went to take her from her mama and papa. You took your own mama and papa to her house. Take the drinks back and go and dissolve that marriage. It is better than beating somebody picking and going to jail for it. It does not make no sense. It doesn't. Be truthful. Be honest. Like, just be honest from day one. Say it as it is. Abusing women? If you want to have a blessing, if you want your business to thrive, if you, the man, want to live long on the surface of the planet, the last thing to do is to go take somebody in Peking that they have slaved and sweated to look after. Groom into a woman, and you go and take it. Nobody made that choice for you. You made that choice. Because you saw front axles that were pointing eastward. You like that. You saw the back axles and everything was packaged nicely. And now that you have sucked the life out of it, and now the east is now looking downwards, you don't want anymore. I want somebody to come and tolerate this one. Apart from her, there's nobody else who is tolerating this. So let me tell you this thing. Very few people are tolerating this when it was this before, and now it's become like this with your belly covering the bit. This thing, it is only her who will tolerate it. I'm telling you. That side chick there out there that you are doing your with, who is telling you all the sweet things in this life, is only around you because she wants your money. That's all. And believe you me, she takes your money, insults you in her head, and go and sleep with the men that are her own age, who can do what you were doing when it was like this. She takes your money and goes to give it to those other boys. Feed them good gobe, proper beans and plantain. So that they can get the energy to do the swinging, the 1,000 oscillations that you were doing back in the day. Accept who you are, what God has blessed your life with, and be content with what you have. It's what I have to say to my brothers. You can go around dancing around and sleep with everything in skirt, but in your final days, none of those people will be sitting with you on your sick bed on that day. Because by that time, that swinging pendulum is all withered. There's nothing in it. It's not even worth looking at anymore. All it is good for is diapers. And at that point, no side chick is interested. The tomatoes is all withered. Nobody is buying. Can't even take it to market anymore. But your wife, who signed on the dotted line that this is a lifelong contract, whatever it is, she has to take them now. And she's sitting and she's taking. make your wives happy, like love them, appreciate them. Wives, love your husbands, appreciate them, cherish them, compliment them, and let's have a happy life together. Women should make sure that they choose people that can be the head of their home, the kings of their jungle, using this thing. Don't go and make any choice of who should come in and manage your home as the captain of your ship. And then when he starts doing things, you come and complain to anybody. And my husband, and he's a cheater, and my husband sleeps around, and when you were dating him and he was sleeping with any other women in skirts, that was your cue to not marry him. Don't get into the marriage thinking you can change him. That thing, I don't understand why we think that way. The person's mother and father weren't able to change him. What is so special about you that you are going to be the one that changes him? Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world, could not change your own husband that you have married, but you can change him. How do you think you're going to change him? Through fasting and praying and long suffering. That one is not a one-day job. That one can be a lifetime job. So if you're ready to do it in peace and quiet for the rest of your life, and be devoted that no matter who my husband sleeps with, no matter what illnesses he's going to contract, I am still going to stick with him and pray for him till he changes. Oh, that is a lifelong job. Do it. But do it in silence. Don't come and complain to anybody about it, because a lot of the times the red flags and the telltale signs are there visibly for you to see like this, but you still choose to make other choices. And when you've done it and now the people are not doing what you expect them to do, now you cry foul. But the fact is, you knew all along. The writing is always on the wall. On the other hand, some women themselves make their men leave home for these side chicks and side hens. Some spouses make loving so difficult too. But some of you men, there is no smoke without fire. Right? If you're with your wife, you all go to work and come back home. Your wife, when she gets home, now has to start her second job, which is cooking for you and the whole family to eat. There's nothing wrong with you also helping your wife by doing the children's homework with them, so that when dinner is ready and you sit down and you all eat together, that's one less thing that you expect your wife to do. If you come back home first before your wife does, there is food in the freezer or fridge. My darling men, there is nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong with you putting rice in rice cooker when there is stew or soup or something, so that when your wife comes, the food is halfway done and she can complete it and you guys can eat in peace. Some of you men want the wives to come back from work, go to the kitchen for 3 hours, 10 around, prepare the food, do the homework, bathe the children, put them to sleep, everything, and now come and entertain you in bed on top of it. Like the women don't have some supernatural powers that you guys don't have. We are also human beings just like you. So it's a hand in hand, hand go, hand come kind of thing. Kwame, I understand what you're saying, but I'm also saying there's a lot of us women that do 80% of everything in the house. Some men feel that because they bring money home, that is all. Like the money doesn't fetch the water for you. Some of you want to be worshipped hand to foot. Especially when you live in the West here, when there's nobody else but the two of you and your children. How is that going to work? Huh? You don't have no house help. There's nobody because you can't afford one. How is that going to work? The woman is working a 12-hour shift. You are working an 8-hour shift. You want this woman to work 6 till 6 or 8 to 8, come home, cook the food, bathe the children, plait hair, put them to bed, take them for dance lesson, everything lesson, and then come and open up the apple for you 20 times in the night. I don't know what kind of machine you guys think that, or gunpowder that has been put into some of these sisters. It's hard. It's hard. There are some unreasonable women. It is true. There are some women who make love hard. It is true. But do some of you men really understand what women also go through? If you guys were to have your menstrual period for 1 month, this whole world will go mad. Believe you me. Sometimes I say that one day when I get to heaven, I'm going to ask God the question, why don't men have menstrual period just like we women have them? You have to experience it to know what it is. So for 3, 4, 5 days of the month, you guys will be having pain in your nuts. The kind of pain where it's like a toothache kind of pain for 4 whole days. Let's see how you guys will like it. So that your bulanga will be out of service for the whole 5 days. The construction site is closed for 5 days. And let's see how it's like. Some of you have no empathy whatsoever for your wives. And I've had women tell me that even in those times when the construction site is supposed to be closed, some men are still demanding they must do swinging pendulum at that time. Okay, if I can't do the front, let me try the back. Guinea. Some of you men are putting some of our sisters through hell. Some of you. So look at some of those things as well. What are you doing? How are you helping your wife at home to lessen the burden for her? You know, sometimes just to show appreciation to your wives and put spice back into your relationship, find somebody to babysit your children. Maybe once a quarter. Take your own wife away somewhere for the weekend. Make her feel special. Show your gratitude for everything that your wife does. Everything that she does. The food she cooks for you. The house she keeps clean. Everything in between. Thank her for it. Take her to that nice resort for 2 days, where she can sleep. That first night, let her sleep the whole night fully and wake up. And come and tell me if that weekend she doesn't give you all the styles that you never saw in your house for the last 10 years. Again, sometimes women come across as being unlovable, unreasonable because they are tired. And there's no appreciation from some of you men. When was the last time you said thank you to your wife? Tell me. When was the last time? You just take her for granted. It's her job. She's my wife. She's the woman in the house. She must do it. Where is it written? In this complimenting of each other, where is this written? Tell me. So there's so much that goes into this whole thing. And that's not to say that, my sisters, that is not an excuse for you to also think that my sister is saying it all. Yes, say it all for me. Yes. If you also want to keep your home, my sisters, when you are tired, tell your husband, I am tired. You have a mouth, use it. Today I cannot cook. Let's all go out and go and eat. You are paying. I'm tired. Tell him the truth. Stop taking on things that you cannot do. Stop it. And tell them the truth. I know that our boobs is now pointing south. My own is pointing south too. So I understand. Sometimes you have to package, you have to put it in, Don't package them now. Package it. I understand that. Package it nicely and put it where it needs to go. Both men and women, keep yourselves clean. Shave your armpits, my brothers. Shave your own, my sister. And keep everything around the apple and the pendulum clean too. Some of you men, you want your wives to go down on you, but you don't want to go down on them. Do all of that one too. Ask your wife what makes her tick and do that for her. And then you will see whether your own marriage will not get some more, extra spices. Sometimes you have to be intentional in your own marriage. Be intentional in your own marriage in order for it to work out. Yes. You have to sit down and think. So my wife, she goes to work for 10 hours. She comes back. She goes to the kitchen. She cooks. She cleans. She does this. How does she manage to do all this thing with a smile on her face? Oh no, my wife must be tired. And take her away once a quarter, once a month if you can afford it, to a nice place. Even if it's just for one night. She doesn't have to think about changing nappy, nothing. And go and see whether your wife is still on the road or not. After you've allowed her to sleep, have a long sleep. And now she's fully awake. You see. Even with your big belly, she will take him like that. And manage him. Ride you like a horse. When you come back, you're all full of smiles. Then all the shouting and fights and quarrels will all stop. Because it's not easy. It is not easy at all for either party. Talk to each other. Like, be open about things. Talk about anything. This is the man that is in your apple every time. This is the woman that is managing your 2 inches. Tell her the truth. Tell him the truth as it is. If you can't talk to your spouse, you're not in a marriage. She's the same person that is seeing everything. You're snoring, you're drooling, everything. Your crooked mouth when you're snoring, she sees all of that. If you cannot talk to that person and be raw with them, the person that is sharing your bed, that you are the most vulnerable around, then you are not in a marriage. It's not working. Pack your bag and leave. Talk. Like, open your mouth and talk. Both sisters and brothers are guilty of this. Talk. And you men, when women are telling you how we are feeling, so you are so spoiled. I'm sure you had 20 boyfriends before you married me. That's why you know all of these things. You are complaining that your wives are unlovable. But when the women want to tell you the truth about what they want you to do to them, you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it. Oh, Uche, I wear a lot of hats, but you see, this is the real side. So it is up and coming. It is up and coming. For now, what I want you guys to do is to book yourself on the Personal Development Masterclass. Come for that one first. After we've done that one, we'll go to that other one and talk about relationships as well. Put link in the comment section. I will send you the link to book yourself. It is happening this Saturday, the 4th of February, 4 p.m. UK time, 5 p.m. European time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, and 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time here in Calgary. Okay? Meet me there at 9 a.m. or 4 p.m. GMT on Saturday, 4th of February, and your life will never be the same. Type the word link in the comments and I'll send you the link to book yourself on that webinar. Game changer. Now, I've made you laugh enough. It is time for me to go to bed. Okay? But think about the things that I've talked about. Abusive relationships are pointless. Whether you're Christian or a pastor or whatever, There's no zero tolerance for all of that. Zero tolerance for that. When you're marry somebody you actually love, that you can live with, that you can cope with, that you can tolerate, that you can love, forsaking everybody else. Don't go and do things, things by force. Marry people you want to be with and make your happy life and your house a home. It is not easy to eat banku every day. It is not easy to eat pounded yam every day. It is not easy to eat gari every day. But some women are sticking around and eating your banku every day, your pot belly. We don't they chop them like that. They manage them, they go. So you to manage one apples like that. The same apples that you've distorted and disfigured. Enjoy them. Okay? And understand that aging is part of life. Mr. Ian, God bless you for being here. Right? Thank you so much for your stars. Manage them. Management. And allow the God that you claim to be worshiping and serving help you to stay devoted and dedicated to this marriage that you've put yourself into. And stick to that one woman. There will always be other more beautiful women than your wife. Yesterday it was Lexus however much. Yesterday it was iPhone 14. The next time it will be 15 Pro Max. A better improved model to iPhone 11. So if iPhone 11 was what was there on your own time and you took that one, manage them. Love your wife as she is. She's loving you with your bald-headedness and your pot belly and 2 inches. You to love her with her sagging boobs and whatever. Because it is aging. It happens to the best of us. Nobody stays the same. We are all evolving and changing. Like this is wisdom. This is wisdom. How many years can you keep going and changing? How many years can you keep changing? How many years can you keep taking Viagra and trying to use these 2 inches to do something to please that side chick? How long? When you go and do that nonsense thing out there and your wife comes home and says, oh, I miss you, my husband, because you know what you've done. Oh, leave me alone, I'm tired. You've gone to waste your energy on that woman that will not sit with you when you are sick. You've gone to waste your time with that one. Learn to love what you have. Appreciate what you have. Package them, maintain them, and keep them. Peace of mind be that. Think about what I've said and see the wisdom in it. And if you're not happy in your relationship, time to do something about it. Because marriage is meant to enjoy yourself and not for endurance. All this is what is going to send you to an early grave. If it's not working, be honest to yourself. Own your truth and do something about it. That something could be therapy, counseling, whatever. But in this 2023, it must change. And if after all that, it is still not working, maybe time for you guys to come to that reality that it's going to be toxic around each other. It's time for you to call a spade and move on. Accept that and do that too. I know the women are also incredible now. Some women are paying men back for sins they haven't committed. Like, we need to sit down and talk about marriage. And that is coming too. Men think that I'm hitting them hard, but in actual fact, if you sit down and think deeply about what I'm saying to you men, is because of the love that I have for you, my brothers. We are always hitting women and badgering women, and the women did this, and the men go because the women don't keep the men. What should the women do to keep you, the men? Hey, she's not sexy anymore. She doesn't excite me. And what do you also do to excite her? With your pot belly, do you also belly dance for her to excite her? No. You are not the only one who wants the excitement in a marriage. The both parties need to excite each other and find ways to do it that works for the two of you. Which is why communication can't be removed from this equation. You have to be able to tell your wife and your husband everything. Okay? Sister Esther, I think you're late here. You need to go back and listen to the whole video to get it here. Okay? But I need to go to bed. Because in a few hours, I need to come back and sit and work a long day. So please, book yourself a seat on the webinar on the Saturday, the 4th of February. That's the last word I have for you. In the days of your parents, you see, that's another mistake we make. You can never compare your mother's marriage in 1964 to 2023 marriage. Your mother was sitting at home doing nothing. Your father was bringing home the money. Fine. Today's day and age, the men, the women are all working and contributing to the homestead. So the dynamics have changed. Just like you men now want slave queen with big everything. If women also say they want to follow how they also feel some of the times and go and take men old enough to be their sons, this world, now wahala will happen. Because we also get fed up with the same style that you give us all the time. Always sign of Stations of the Cross sign. We get tired of that too. But now with your big belly, you can't do the other one. Because if we don't take care now, you have to call an ambulance. So we manage the Stations of the Cross like that. We all have to do our part and move around with our mindset as the relationships is changing, as the way we feel is changing and we are aging. We have to get to that place of accepting where we are. Some of our men are so unreasonable. You are 45, almost 50. You want the woman to lie, a 45-year-old woman to lie with her head on the floor and hang her butt up for you so that it will be easier for you to do what you have to do. 45-year-old woman. She doesn't have any super spring. It's not like that mattress that the spring that they put in some of these mattresses that makes it able to be pliable. 45-year-old woman with calcified bones in her knee. You want her to hang with her head and create a dish like this for you so that all you do is just, that is what your 18-year-olds can do now because their bones are very flexible. But Mama Nkechi at 45 cannot do that. Understand Mama Nkechi at that age. And know that Mama Nkechi is also not happy with your own 2 inches that is remaining. But she's managing that one like that. Because to go out there and try and take somebody in Nkechi's age to come and do what Papa Nkechi can do means wahala for her too. You get it? This is something that you need to really open up your mind to understand. Right? I know men are going through a tough time with some women in marriages. Not stupid. I know that there are women equally going through tough times with men too. It's all happening. I see it. I see it. I hear it all the time. But it always takes two to tango. Relationships are all about compromise and meeting each other halfway. You can't take a hardball decision and not want to shift and move anywhere. Okay? So being reasonable is part of it. Some people just want to have young women in their life, full stop. Doesn't matter what I say. I can waste my time and make all the noise. No, they reach anywhere. Because you've made up your mind that as for you, in your 50s, you have to have fresh blood. Go ahead. Can't help you. But I'm talking to my brothers who have been through so much. And being with one woman and want to continue that till your old age. How beautiful it is to see my parents who, in their childhood pictures, when I see them, a man is like this, the woman is like this. They are older together. They have all grown gray hairs. Their children, their grandchildren. It's such a beautiful thing to see. And they are still together. Don't you think that my dad also has the same swinging pendulum that a lot of you have? He does. Don't you think that my dad sees the small, nice side chicks too that are roaming around? Side chickable women? He does. But he's made up his mind. Side chick is just coming for my money. This woman has tolerated me all these years. 46 years and counting. Let me zip up my thing and keep it where it is. Keep it clean for my own wife, and have my own peace, and sleep at night, And that is it. He's still there. He hasn't died. Very much alive. My mama, she's still there. Very much alive. And managing her own. However way it is. Because she recognizes that they are all in their 70s. 70-year-old Bobby can't be the same as 20-year-old Bobby. Okay? So it's all about compromise, understanding, and having managed expectations. If after all this you still want to go out there and do it, you are very welcome. Go ahead. I can't help you. Can't help everybody. But this is my 2 cents of this whole issue that has now gone into marriage counseling. I love you guys so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, but now I am really tired and I need to go and sleep. Okay? I love you so much. For all of you who've put the word link and webinar and all of that, the link is coming up. In the next few minutes, you see a message from me. Sign up, come sit down, and let's have a conversation. I promise you, your life will never be the same after Saturday if you come to that class. Okay? I love you. Bye. Good night.